The neon lights of the 24-hour grocery store flickered over the quiet streets of East London, casting a soft glow on the rain-slicked pavement. It was just past 10 p.m., and the store was nearly empty, save for a few late-night shoppers and a young cashier named Aisha, who stood behind the counter, scanning items with a practiced rhythm. At 19, Aisha was working the night shift to save for university, her dreams of studying medicine tucked quietly behind her tired smile. The store was her second home, but tonight, it felt like a pressure cooker waiting to burst. The bell above the door chimed, and in walked Jason Statham. Yes, the Jason Statham, the action star known for his steely gaze and no-nonsense demeanor. He wasn't there for fanfare, he was just a local bloke picking up some essentials after a long day on a nearby film set. Dressed in a black hoodie and jeans, he blended into the fluorescent-lit aisles, grabbing a carton of eggs, a loaf of bread, and a bottle of milk. His presence was subtle, but his aura was unmistakable, a man who carried himself like he could handle anything, yet preferred to avoid trouble. As Jason approached the checkout, a loud, slurred voice cut through the hum of the store's refrigerators. A burly man, reeking of cheap whiskey and swaying like a ship in a storm, was leaning over Aisha's counter, his face inches from hers. His words were a jumbled mess of insults, laced with profanity, as he berated her for scanning his items too slowly. Aisha's hands trembled slightly, but she kept her composure, her voice steady as she tried to defuse the situation. "Sir, I'm just doing my job. Please, let me finish." The drunk man wasn't having it. He slammed his fist on the counter, making the barcode scanner jump. "Don't talk back to me, girl. You lot are always so bloody useless." The venom in his voice drew the attention of the few other customers, who shuffled uncomfortably but stayed back, unwilling to get involved. Aisha's eyes darted toward the store manager's office, but the door was closed, and help wasn't coming. Jason, now standing a few feet away, set his basket down quietly. His jaw tightened, but his eyes were calm, assessing. He'd seen this kind of nonsense before, bullies who thrived on intimidation, preying on those who couldn't fight back. But he wasn't one to jump in with fists flying, not yet. He stepped closer, his voice low but firm, cutting through the tension like a blade. "Mate, ease up. She's just trying to do her job." The drunkman spun around, his bloodshot eyes narrowing as he sized Jason up. Recognition flickered, he knew that face, that voice, but the alcohol dulled his judgment. "Who the hell are you? Mind your own business, pretty boy." He took a step toward Jason, puffing out his chest, his fists clenched. Aisha's heart raced. She didn't know who this stranger was, but she could feel the air shift, like a storm was brewing. Jason didn't flinch. He stood his ground, his posture relaxed but ready, like a coiled spring. "I'm just a bloke buying my groceries," he said, his tone deceptively casual. "But you're making it hard for everyone to have a nice night. So, how about you pay for your stuff, apologize to the lady, and we all go home happy?" The drunk laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "Apologize? To her? You must be joking." He lunged forward, swinging a wild fist toward Jason's face. The move was sloppy, telegraphed by his unsteady stance, and Jason sidestepped it with the ease of a man who'd spent years choreographing fight scenes. In one fluid motion, he caught the man's wrist, twisted it just enough to make him wince, and pushed him back against the counter, not hard, but firm enough to make a point. "Last chance," Jason said, his voice still calm but now edged with steel. "Walk away." The drunk's bravado faltered, but his pride wouldn't let him back down. He yanked his arm free and charged again, this time aiming to tackle Jason. Big mistake. Jason pivoted, using the man's momentum against him, and sent him stumbling into a display of canned beans. The cans clattered to the floor, rolling in every direction, but Jason didn't break a sweat. He glanced at Aisha, who was frozen behind the counter, and gave her a small nod, as if to say, "I've got this." The other customers were now watching, wide-eyed, some filming on their phones. Jason didn't care for the attention, but he knew this needed to end before it escalated further. The drunk scrambled to his feet, cursing, and pulled a pocket knife from his jacket. The blade glinted under the fluorescent lights, and a gasp rippled through the onlookers. Aisha's hand hovered over the panic button under the counter, but she hesitated, her eyes locked on Jason. He didn't blink. "A knife?" "Really," he said, almost amused. "You're making this harder than it needs to be." In a blur of motion, Jason closed the distance, his hand snapping out to grab the man's wrist before the knife could even point in his direction. A quick twist, a sharp yelp, and the knife clattered to the floor. Jason kicked it away, then pinned the man's arm behind his back, forcing him to his knees with minimal effort. It was over in seconds, but it felt like a scene straight out of one of his films. "Stay down," Jason said, his voice low but commanding. The drunk groaned, his fight drained, and Jason looked up at Aisha. "You all right, love?" Aisha nodded, her voice catching. "Why, yeah. Thank you." Her eyes were wide, not just with fear but with awe. She'd seen her share of rowdy customers, but never someone handle a situation like that, so controlled, so precise, yet somehow kind. The store manager finally burst out of his office, flustered and apologetic, as security arrived to take the drunk man away. The police were called, and statements were taken, but Jason stayed calm through it all, giving his account with the same no-nonsense clarity he'd shown in the fight. When the officers recognized him, they tried to make small talk about his movies, but he brushed it off with a polite smile, his focus on making sure Aisha was okay. As the commotion died down, Jason approached the counter again, picking up his basket. Aisha, still shaken but composed, started scanning his items. Her hands were steadier now, but her voice was soft. "You didn't have to do that, you know. Risk yourself for me." Jason shrugged, his eyes meeting hers with a warmth that contrasted his tough exterior. "No one should have to put up with that nonsense. You were just doing your job. Takes guts to stay calm like you did." Aisha blushed, her fingers pausing on the scanner. I don't know how to thank you. I've never seen anything like that." He chuckled, a rare, genuine sound. "Just keep chasing those dreams of yours. That's thanks enough." He glanced at the name tag pinned to her uniform. "Aisha, right. You've got a good head on your shoulders. Don't let idiots like that make you doubt it." She smiled, a real one this time, and handed him his receipt. "You're not just a customer, are you? I mean, you're him." Jason smirked, picking up his bag. "Just a bloke who hates seeing good people get pushed around. Take care, Aisha." He gave her a nod, then walked out into the night, the bell chiming softly behind him. As he disappeared into the rain, Aisha stood there, the weight of the moment settling in. She didn't know if she'd ever see him again, but she knew she'd never forget him, not just for the action, but for the kindness that underpinned it. The store felt quieter now, the air lighter, and for the first time that night, Aisha felt like maybe, just maybe, she could handle anything. Outside, Jason pulled his hoodie up against the drizzle, his breath visible in the cool air. He didn't need the spotlight, didn't need the applause. For him, it was simple: do what's right, protect what matters, and keep moving. But somewhere deep down, he hoped Aisha would go on to do great things, because in a world full of chaos, people like her were worth fighting for.